And welcome on into the Jazz Huddle, everybody. I'm Madison. Along with me is Blake, and we are here today with another video. This time, it is the mid-season review for the Utah Jazz. It has been a whirlwind of a season so far with a lot of emotions, a lot of different winning streaks, a lot of different losing streaks. It's been a very, not confusing year, but a very different year than what the Jazz had last year. At the All-Star break last year, the Jazz were sitting comfortably in that one seed above the Phoenix Suns. This year, we're 13 games back of that one seed, currently sitting at fourth in the Western Conference. Definitely not where we were last year, but there's still something to make out of this season, no doubt. And so we're going to be reviewing here on this podcast where we are right now as a team and how our first half of the season went. We'll be reviewing some of the coaching staff, GM, stuff like that, along with how we did during the first half of the season. And later on in the second half of the video, we're going to be diving in to seeding prediction for where the Jazz might land, where they might want to land for a good seeding matchup. And then, of course, are the Utah Jazz the Jazz contenders for the NBA championship? Because that's the main goal. That's what Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert have said over and over again. They don't want it to be another first and second round exit like it has been the last 3-4 years. They want to win an NBA championship. They want to get out of the second round. So that question is going to be the last answer. Do we think we can finally break past that second round barrier that the Jazz have not been able to break since 2008?
And, it's really breaking a mold, something that the Jazz really haven't been able to do in quite a while. But you really look at it, and the Jazz are not in that bad of a spot. I mean, they're right in that midsection of the West. Once again, fourth in the Western Conference, where you could fall into a really favorable matchup in the playoffs, or you could have a really tough one with the Suns. But we'll just kind of see. Either way, the Jazz will have tough matchups in the playoffs. But as we stand at 36-22, fourth in the Western, I, for one, am not the most confident that this team is going to be able to do big things. But, we have to really look at the stats. Where are the Jazz in terms of really playing as a team, and how have they done so far this year? So right now they are fourth in points per game in the NBA, so they really do shoot the ball well. 113.7 a game. Rebounds per game, they're fifth, 46.1. A massive part of that is Rudy Gobert. He's had a fantastic season rebounding, and they're 27th in assists per game. Part of that due to the insane amount of turnovers that this team commits, which is just horrible. And also adding on to that, their opponent's points per game is ninth. So they're playing good defense, but you really got to limit turnovers, and you got to play a little bit more polished basketball. So now we take a look at acquisitions. So the Jazz have made a few of them this year. You look at the pickups of Rudy Gay and Hassan Whiteside. They have both played out pretty nicely. Would you agree with that?
To an extent. We didn't get Rudy Gay for the first 15 games of the year.
Right.
And he started nice. But since then, he's been all right, but he hasn't been, as good as I'd like him to. Yeah. And then Hassan Whiteside, he's been playing through a lot of injuries, was out for COVID at the beginning of the year for like a good 2 to 3 weeks. So you have to factor that in a lot. I believe also he started great. But during that stretch, when he was coming back, he had a bit of a rough stretch. You would see him not hustling for balls, not getting offensive rebounds. But however, I say that, and here recently before the All-Star break, in last week or two before the All-Star break, he really started to pick it up. In a couple of those games without Rudy Gobert, that was a very, very key time for him to really zone in, and he did just that. Remember that game? He had 6 blocks in the first half. I mean, he really did step it up over the past week to 2 before the All-Star break, but that's what we're going to need consistently coming out of the All-Star break. With Rudy Gobert being out and Hassan Whiteside being the main guy down low, we also got to see a lot of Udoka Azubuike. And so having all 3 of those guys be productive, and don't even get me started on how great Azubuike was. And I'm gonna pause right there on Whiteside because I really want to get to what Azubuike did, Blake. Azubuike coming in this year got barely any playing time last year before he got hurt and sent to the G League, then got hurt. It was really going to be one of those things where we might have just completely wasted a first round draft pick. Or are we going to even play this man And even to the extent of before this COVID outbreak happened in January with the Jazz, were we going to see Azubuike this year?
Right.
You know, he had another injury smaller in the year, and we didn't and we didn't see him until that. But man, when he did, boy, did he pull out, putting up multiple games of double-doubles for a guy who wasn't getting any playing time until the final 2-3 minutes. Talk about how Azubuike's impact is just it. You don't even have to talk about it. You can just acknowledge it. It's been so key to this team, and not only has it helped the Jazz, it's helped a guy like Hassan Whiteside through when he's been struggling. You've been able to have a guy like Azubuike to be able to back you up.
Yeah, and, you know, you look at Hassan Whiteside, he's not the youngest guy, so you look at Azubuike as a possible piece that could totally replace him in the future. And look, I really like where he's going, and I also like what the Jazz did when they traded Joe Ingles for Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Juancho Hernan-Gomez. It's a tough trade. It's kind of a heartless trade, but you have to imagine that Joe's going to come back after his injury season is done in Portland. So I feel like the Jazz get a little bit back for, you know.
What do we get back?
You know,
what do we get back?
We get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a guy who averaged 12
And what has he
game.
done so far?
He hasn't done anything, but when you get traded to a new team, well, what was Joe Ingles going to do this season?
Well, obviously nothing, but if we're going to trade him away, I want to get something out of him. Like, I just don't understand the purpose.
Look, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a young guy, very good player. He averaged 12 with New Orleans when he played in that system, but you have to kind of discredit him a little bit because it is New Orleans, and he probably got a lot of minutes. In Utah, he could develop into a role player. I say that's all we get from it. Not a ton. Juancho Hernan-Gomez probably won't have a role.
What was the point of the trade if he's not playing?
You got to get pieces.
What was the point? What was the point of giving away those 2 second-round picks? Which we've had good success of picking in the second round. Okay, 1 second-round pick. What was the point if we're not going to play him, right? Well, that's my thing, right? So Ingles is going to come back, so that means you're probably going to have what was the guy's from the Spurs name again? I can't even remember.
Juancho Hernan-Gomez. Again,
yes, that guy. It's just so he's not even going to be here next year. If we were going to make a trade, I wanted it to be a meaningful trade. Here's my thing. Ingles is a key guy for the locker room. And while I talked about trading Ingles before and I wanted an Ingles trade to go down, I wanted to get something valuable in return for it that was going to help us contend for a championship this year. When I look at that trade, I just don't see, man, we're a better team now. When the Clarkson trade happened, I went, man, we're a better team now. When the Conley trade happened, I go, man, we're a better team now. If I'm not getting a man, we're a better team now when we're in the win now stage.
Not good.
Then what?
Yeah, I agree with
what's
you.
the purpose?
So when you look at it that way, I agree with you.
So that's what I'm saying. What other way? I get it. Yeah, it's nice to have 2 extra players. You weren't going to get anything out of Joe Ingles, but what you could have gotten out of Joe Ingles is, that chemistry being there and staying with the team, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I get the point of, hey, at least we got 2 players who are playing. Maybe Alexander Walker goes out and helps us out in the playoffs a little bit. But from, you know how Quinn Snyder is with playing time and everything. We're going to get to Quinn Snyder here in a moment, along with Danny Ainge. We're going to get to all that. But Quinn Snyder's not lenient with playing time. We know that. Look how long it took, as we were just talking about, Azubuike. Look at how long it took him. It took Whiteside and Gobert being out for him to even sniff the floor for actual meaningful minutes.
Yeah, and that's tough. So on that note,
what makes you think? What makes you think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to get meaningful minutes? Jimmy Butler doesn't even get meaningful minutes.
Listen, I don't think that this trade was necessarily done in the win now state, which is stupid.
Fine, but that's what we're in.
Exactly. That's what we're in. So now let's jump over and talk about coaching in the front office, because I don't want to dwell on guys who probably aren't going to be getting a ton of playing time. But listen,
you're right.
Listen, for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I don't really see that he's going to be having a big impact this year, and I don't think he's going to have a big impact any year. At most, I see him being a mid-level role player in some future year. But one thing that he does provide for the Jazz is an offseason trade piece if they need it, because they probably wouldn't be able to get anything for Joe Ingles in the offseason, since he will likely come over and sign a vet minimum contract with Utah. But that's all speculation. Let's look at what Danny Ainge and Quinn Snyder have done. David Lindsay, I believe his name is, ushered out almost as the GM, not not in that, or Dennis Lindsey is his name, kind of ushered out from that leadership position. In a way, he's kind of been fired to give in to that Danny Ainge mentality that Ryan Smith has had for a while.
Yeah, we just got Danny Ainge, though,
so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what he does.
It's hard. It's hard for me to judge Danny Ainge, and I know I just bashed on that trade for a sec, but you got to give him time here in Utah. I'm always big about that. Here's someone we have given time to, Quinn Snyder. We've given a lot of time to Quinn Snyder, and this is one of Jazz fans out there in the world. They don't like this when I say it, but Quinn Snyder, I don't know if he can lead a team to a championship.
I don't know if he can lead a team.
And it's not even a team
either.
to
I
him.
don't know.
He hasn't been able to get us out of the second round. And what's he been a coach of since 2014? 4 playoff appearances, maybe five playoff appearances in a row. Hasn't been able to get us out of the second round. Not everything the coach's fault, but you have to put some of the blame on the coach. And some of the blame on the coaching staff. And we talked about it obviously in Game 6 against the Clippers last year. The failed adjustments after going up 2-0, especially the failed adjustments in Game 6. But I could go on for hours about every single thing that he missed in that game. But we talk about the irritating playing time that he does, and just the way he is. I just don't know if he can build a championship team. I'm just gonna be real. His defense at times can be soft, and sometimes he relies on that defense a little too much. And I'm just gonna go out and say it. I'm not a Quinn Snyder fan. I hope he proves me wrong, but once again this season. We saw it especially in the final game before the All-Star break. We were streaming it, Jazz Lakers, and it was like, what's the word? What is the word, Blake, for deja vu? Deja vu. That's the word. I swear I was sitting in this chair, and it's like I was watching Terrence Mann drop 39 on me once again.
That was ridiculous.
I kid you not. I'm just watching Jazz up by 12, 5 minutes to go, and you lose? Like, granted, yeah, the players should have made that shit, but God, there were no adjustments. The same thing on defense that was getting exploited got exploited. So if a defensive scheme is not working, what do you have to do? You have to change it up, and he never does, and I'll never understand why. No man can ever explain to me why.
He's weird.
I just can't. I can't with Quinn Snyder sometimes, and I really hope he proves me wrong. But listen, that's where my main worry to this team is, and our next subject is the playoffs. Is we can't close things out because we don't make the right adjustments at the right time when it truly matters. And this team has never performed when it truly matters. And Quinn Snyder's time is running up. Regardless of how Dunny's good for us, Quinn Snyder's time is running up because Ryan Smith and everybody else in this Jazz organization wants a championship. And if Quinn Snyder's going to keep proving that he can't lead us out of the second round, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, he's going to be bye-bye if he can't do it. At least if he can't get us out of second round this year, I don't think he's got much longer in Utah. And you got to look at it this way. You look at Quinn Snyder two ways, and I think that they're both mutually exclusive. You look at him system-wise, he's got one of the most detailed systems in the league. But what happens when you have a detailed system? It's really hard to make changes on the spot. So that's the first problem because you see the Jazz in crunch time and they just can't execute. And it's simply because the system is so complicated that it is built to be ran through a course of a game and it's meant to predict the course of the game. So when that gets out of hand, when the Jazz get in a situation where it gets a little too tight, everything falls apart. So that's where you have to have a star like Donovan Mitchell. But Donovan Mitchell in the clutch is about as bad as like Tony Bradley. He is so bad in the clutch. I swear. I think the only time that he was good was with Denver, or when we played Denver in the bubble.
Yeah.
That was when he was really
and
good.
Even then, he threw the ball over on the final play.
Exactly. Still, it's just there is an obvious kind of lapse of judgment in the clutch for the Utah Jazz.
I want to talk. Are you finished? I don't want to interrupt you,
no,
but I do want to talk
ahead.
about. I want to talk about one more thing with. I will bring up Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge. You had the chance to go on and do something over the trade deadline, and I know I barked about the trade deadline. Here's what I wanted. Let me fix my hair so I can say this right in front of you. I'm going to get real close here, all right? real close and personal. I wanted a perimeter defender. That's all I want. I wanted a perimeter defender because what can the Jazz not do to save their life?
Perimeter defense. And look.
The
There was a guy.
Why didn't you make a move for that?
Well, I don't understand it. And you look at what the Clippers did. They
made moves. They actually did so.
Exactly. And I don't even know how they were able to pull that off, but Robert Covington and Norman Powell are good players. I love Robert Covington.
For the deal they got, don't tell me you can't get fleeces.
You couldn't get twice that if you were Utah.
Who gives a damn about a first-round draft pick? Who just won the Super Bowl? The Rams.
They traded away.
How many draft picks have they had since 2016? Zero! Zip, none, zero! Zip, none! None! If you are having a pick 20 or worse, 20 to 30 in the first round, why?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you need it for? Give me 5 players in the last 5-10 years who have just been unbelievable. Give me some. Give me some that I'm just completely going mind blank because I'm ranting.
Idea. And honestly, I think
there's been a couple guys, but you're not gonna find that level of talent. So throw in a 2024 first round draft pick. Boom. Throw in a 2027. Boom. Throw in Ingles. Maybe even throw Mike Donovich and go get Jeremy Grant. Exactly. Go get Marcus Smart for a less price. Give me someone who can guard the perimeter because again, that Lakers game. What happened? Perimeter defense near the end of the game. Absolute trash.
Put on a show.
LeBron James, Austin Reeves banging threes home because we don't have perimeter defense. What happened in Game 6 against the Clippers last year? Terrence Mann was like Steph Curry. He didn't miss from downtown. He made 7 threes. 7 threes in that game. Why? Perimeter defense. My point stands, but listen, I'm gonna done yell. I'm done yelling about management. My rant is over. So headphone users, I promise you can turn your headphones back up a little bit because I'm not going to be ranting at this part no more. Now we're looking at the playoffs, and we're going to look at the standings here. Blake, if you want to pull it up on the computer to show everybody, you can. I don't know if you can do that, but basically the Jazz currently sit at the 4th seed in the Western Conference, 36-22. Currently, because the Grizzlies lost tonight, they are 3.5 games back of the 3 seed. So Blake and I had been discussing this during the Lakers live stream. Should the Jazz go for the 3 or the 6 seed in the Western Conference?
At this point, you got to go for the 3. You have to go for the 3. And that's been my take ever since the question was asked. But here's what you also got to look at. With where the Jazz are right now and where the Grizzlies are, the Grizzlies are 2 games behind the Warriors. So if you think about it, they are pretty freaking close to that 2 seed. And they're actually just 1 win behind them, but they have a few more losses. And the Jazz are not that far behind. 3.5 games could be lost pretty quick, and that could be made up 1-1, quickly moving the Jazz up 2 games ahead. So it's one of those things where I think that you really have to make a push towards the end of the season. And divisionally, the Jazz are great because the Jazz have a terrible division. But you have to go. And also, I'd like to point out that a couple of years ago, the Northwest Division of the Western Conference was the best division in basketball.
Oh, yeah.
It was no doubt close. So
2018, 2019?
It was insane. That was the best division ever. And it was super fun to watch and play, too. Now, they all suck, except for us. We're the only
Denver.
outliers.
Denver's nice. Denver's nice.
Denver's okay.
Okay.
Denver's an easy one. But anyway.
So here's my question, and then we're going to get to the main question. The main question that the people are staying here for our takes on it. So it's the final game of the season, and the Jazz are going up against – I'm going to look. Who do the Jazz play on the final game of the season? Blake, can you tell me?
I'm not sure.
I will look. It is the Trailblazers. That's what I thought it was, just making sure. So the Jazz are playing final regular season game on the Trailblazers at 10 p.m. Eastern time, okay? So at that same time, the Nuggets and Mavericks are all fighting for the 4 and 6 through 6 seed. All right? Mm-hmm. If you win due to tiebreakers, you are the 4th seed and have home court advantage in the first round. but you're going up against the Suns in round 2. However, if you lose to the Trailblazers, you fall back to the 6th seed and you play the Grizzlies in round 1. But you would instead play the Warriors over the Suns and have a better matchup in the second round than you would in round 1.
You lose. So you
lose.
You lose. That's what you do. Exactly. So it's really just like a game of chess. That's all it is. Because these pieces are going to be moving. Eventually, they're going to fall into place enough where we can see exactly where we're going to be, or we're going to have these 2 spots where we can kind of determine our destiny, because these other teams are not good enough to do that. So if we can do that, I'm not saying that we're great or anything, but we're in a point where if we wanted to lose and get the 6th seed, heck yeah, we could do that. It's just a matter of the other teams winning enough. But
do you think that the Jazz would lose on purpose to get the 6th seed?
Heck yeah, they would if they were in that situation. Ryan Smith, he would totally be into that. He is a guy who just wants a championship. He doesn't care about seeding. He doesn't care about home court. I mean, I'm sure he does care about home court because it's like the best home court advantage in the NBA. But I don't think he cares about I don't think he cares about that enough to be like, no,
hey,
let's stick it, you know?
Hey, hear me out. I like not having home court advantage. I like having the 3, 4, and 6 being played at my arena. That's just my thing in general. I like playing games 3 and 4 on the road and game 6 on the road. I didn't. But listen, again, that's just me. I'd rather play game 1 and 2 on the road. But now the big question before we wrap off tonight. Thank you guys so much for stopping on in. Make sure to leave this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more Jazz content just like this. We're going to have a weekly podcast going now along with other videos and, of course, the Gamely live streams that we'll do. We go live for every single Jazz game here on the Jazz Huddle. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you have not done so already. So, Blake, plain and simple, or the Jazz, can the Jazz contend for an NBA championship this season?
I think
honest
so.
Answer.
I'm going to give you my honest answer right now. I think they can. And, you know, it seems vague, it seems harsh, but this team has been absolutely squashed by injuries. Rudy Gobert looks like a shade of himself right now, but he's got time. Listen, they have a lot of games where they're going to be able to tune up and figure out what has kind of been their, what has been their tipping point, where sometimes they have great games and sometimes they have bad games. And I think that with these last games, they're going to be put into situations where they have to figure out what they're going to do in the clutch, which is literally what the playoffs is. In my eyes, the playoffs is just a clutch situation the whole time. You have to play at the highest level to win in the playoffs. And I think that has been something that's been misunderstood by the Jazz for a while now. But we just have to be put in situations where we face adversity so that we don't end up being horrible when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's honestly tougher to win a game in the clutch when you're at home with the Jazz, at least, because there is just so much stigma with these fans, and us included, where it's just impossible for us to win games in that situation. So I think that they can contend, but it will take an absolute culture shift where they understand that the end of the game is the most important, and that is when you have to execute the best. And you know, you have to execute the whole game. But I feel like the moves have not been amazing. But you have to remember those offseason moves for the Jazz, they will be huge, because Rudy Gay opens up this path for the Jazz to do exactly what the Clippers did to us. When you take Rudy Gay, put him in at that small ball 5, you can do a lot of things. Obviously, they haven't ran it, but I'm sure it's been practiced, and I bet we're going to see it a lot more towards the end of this year as the Jazz got mutilated at the end of that game by the Lakers, who ran that same exact thing. You know, that you got to think that Quinn Snyder over this break has looked at that and been like, let's at least try this. Hopefully, we hope, but we never know with Quinn Snyder. But anyway, we just hope that we see more of that. And I think that the Jazz can definitely contend. It just will take work, and it will just take, you know, you have to be consistent towards the end of the year.
So let me ask you this. I know you said we can't contend, and can't contend doesn't mean that you think we're going to win the championship.
No, I don't know. It's hard to say.
But you're saying that you believe that there is a realistic chance that we do.
Yeah.
So now this is a yes or no question right here. It's just simple yes or no. you can elaborate on it, but there's no, guessing or, whatever. It's a firm yes or no. Is this the year the Utah Jazz go to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2008?
See, okay. Now this is where I
Is it the year?
Yes, it has to be. It has to be, yes. Because listen, if the Jazz don't make the Western Conference Finals this year, I know people aren't going to like to hear this, but Donovan is going to be in Narnia by the time the offseason.
Stop
okay. I'm not. We'll get into that on another podcast, okay? But listen, here's the deal. This is win now for the Jazz because you got a bunch of young talent and you also got some old guys, super old guys who are going to be out of the league in a few years. You have to win now. Every year added is a year on them, and a year on you in the NBA is not easy. So you have to win now. And I think they got to take advantage, especially of like Bogdanovich, who is like probably 29, 30, something like that. He's going to be gone soon. His type of player, he's physical. He goes down low. He's a physical guy. He also shoots. But honestly, this team needs to win or the whole thing's going to get blown up. And knowing Danny Ainge, if we lose, this whole roster is going to be freaking gone.
It'll be blown.
Trust me. And I don't want to see that. But I think even if we do get to the Western Conference Finals and lose, it's going to be freaking blown up. I don't know. It's just hard to say, but I think the Jazz are contenders, and I think that this has to be the year that they win. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm saying like in terms of will this team win? I don't know, but they have to.
And here's the thing, and I thought about it. At some point, I can't remember when, but like you think last year was supposed to be the year you expect it, and then you don't get it, and then you might get it in the year that you're not expecting it, and then it happens.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
That is going to wrap up the first podcast here on the Jazz Huddle. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Leave your thoughts down below of different podcast ideas that you want to see, topics to talk about. We're going to be doing this once every week. We haven't really decided on a certain day that we're going to post. Probably going to post every Friday would be my guess. Film Thursday. Post it on Friday. Not really sure exactly what the plan is, but we'll definitely get something worked out. Tons of other videos coming. And live streams, of course, for every single Jazz game. We got a game against the 5th-seeded Dallas Mavericks, who were supposed to play in the playoffs if the season did end today. They will be coming to Utah tomorrow, so make sure to join into that stream. That'll start at around 8:50 Eastern time. And then come join us on Sunday for the Utah Jazz and the Suns. That's at 3:30 Eastern time start. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your night or day whenever you're watching this. And hopefully we'll see you on Friday for the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks.
Peace.